Hello, and welcome to Finwell Prep. My name is Alicia, and I am presenting this course. It's a course of sorts, and it is designed to address some of what I have found over my financial career to be some of the confusion and concerns and questions that I hear time and again about finance, investing, the markets, account types, all that kind of stuff. And then moving into what I have observed to be some of the psychological, social, cultural, and spiritual blocks that I think prevent some people from finding financial success. So this really has its roots at the beginning of my financial career. I began my financial career back in 2006, almost by accident. I was a psychology major and graduated with a job that really wasn't helping me make ends meet. So I ended up working at my local bank and getting a job working in their investment group, got my Series 7, went on to a larger financial firm, and then later on into wealth management. And over that time, I really learned a lot about how people behave with money and the really unfortunate knowledge gaps that exist, in my opinion, very unnecessarily in our society about finance and investing. So I really wanted to put together something that flowed like a course, so to speak. And so we'll be starting, this is the 101, which is basically who I am, what my background is, which we just did. And then I'd like to just go over the syllabus, so to speak, of what I'll be discussing in the courses that follow. Now, each course will last, I would say, 30 to 60 minutes typically. I wanted to set these up so that they could be listened to in one session. And each section, so there's 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s, like college coursework. So each section, one class sort of builds on the next. But if you listen to them out of order, not a big deal. There's no homework or anything like that. It's really more of a talk series than it is a true course. But when I was sort of looking at the information that I had put together that I wanted to present, that format just seemed to make sense. So basically the information in this is something I started developing a couple of years ago, based on the information I've acquired over the years. And it really came out of me recognizing that I was hearing the same things over and over again and being asked the same questions over and over again, and really recognizing that as a society, we don't have great financial literacy. We don't have good tools available to us to help us understand finance and investing and account types. And a lot of people, I think, are afraid to ask or don't know how to ask because, one, they don't want to appear unintelligent, or two, they just think it's too complicated, I can't be bothered. That's one I hear a lot, is people just thinking it's more than they would ever want to learn about. When in reality, this stuff is very simple. And unfortunately, I think a lot of financial gurus and investment advisors like to talk in big terms and definitions and confuse people. And that's not necessary, and it's unfortunate. You can do that if you want to. If you want to geek out and learn all the numbers and the data and get in the weeds on technical stock analysis, have at it. But you don't need to do that to be able to understand your 401k or have financial success. But a lot of people, I think that you do, and you don't. And, one thing I learned talking to people over the years was that everybody from the store clerk to the physicians and the attorneys all really felt the same way when it came to finance. It was like everybody was the same. Didn't matter your education background, didn't matter how smart you were. It was like when it comes to finance, I feel like we're all sort of in the same boat, and everybody has the same level of discomfort and lack of, as I say, financial literacy and financial wellness when it comes to dealing with these topics. And that's where Finwell Prep comes in. So Finwell Prep is basically short for Financial Wellness and Preparedness. So In the next session, we'll be getting into what I call the prosperity check, which is my version of budgeting. So if you already have a budget that works for you, great. I always like to see what different people are doing and look at different methods. There's tons of different great ways that you can do budgeting. This is the approach that has worked for me that I'll be presenting. And then we get into a topic that's kind of fun, financial prepping. I don't consider myself a prepper, but I do value preparedness. And I think financial prepping is something, if you do look into prepper topics, is something that's often overlooked. And something that I think it's a fun way to look at building savings and talking about insurance and preparing for short and long-term financial disruptions and that kind of thing. So financial prepping, it's basically a different way to approach savings. And then after that, we get into what I titled Headsets and Mahogany Desks. So that's basically looking at the types of financial advice that's out there, different financial firms, what they do, who they are, how they work, what the different account types are. Not the most exciting, but super important, because that's really the foundation of everything else, because we all have accounts and some of us may not know how they work or what they are. So it's important to know what we have, what's out there, so that when we're presented with something, we know if it's going to be the right fit for us, or if we hear a term on TV, we know what that means. So that's what that's going to be about. And then after that, we get into the 200 series, which starts to drift a little bit further away from the nuts and bolts type stuff, but still somewhat basic. And that's going to start with the topic of creating space. So basically setting us up for success, creating an environment where we can be successful. Then after that, we get into demystifying gurus and financial advice. So sort of building on the topic prior about account types, we're going to get more into financial advice, what's out there, how you can get it, and determining what's going to work for you. And that's going to range from talking about people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, right up through the person that works at the company that handles your 401k to the financial advisor that might be down the street. So that's what that's about. Then we get into mindful spending. So mindfulness is a popular topic right now, and mindfulness can definitely apply to money and finance and spending. So that's what that's about. And then we get into breaking bad habits. So once we have laid the foundation, set ourselves up for success, we start to have some idea about what we're doing and why we're doing it, some practical things that we can do to help us break whatever bad habits we have. And this is something, I know I'm a work in progress. Everybody's a work in progress. This is not a get rich fix. This is not anything that happens overnight. These things are all things we're always all working on. So just different techniques to help us break some of the bad habits that we all have. Then after that, we get into the 300 series, and that starts with perspective, keeping perspective, and being able to recognize what we have achieved, where we're going, and then after that, we get into success. So success is a very complex topic. I think it's more complex than most people realize, because how we define success as individuals versus how our families might define it versus society or culture can be very different things. So sort of looking at success as a broader topic. Then we get into something that's also more of a sociocultural, pop culture kind of topic that's big right now, and that's snowflakes and boomerangs. So whether it's yourself or a friend or a family member, basically people that are having trouble with executive functioning, sort of that failure to launch syndrome, and what might be causing it, and what we might be able to do about it. And then after that, breaking free from toxicity. So we all have those relationships, situations, whether it's at home or at work, family, friends, what have you, that are holding us back, and that for whatever reason we can't get away from. And sometimes we truly can't. Sometimes these are things we have to learn to deal with, and that's what that's going to be about. Then we get into the topic of gratitude, which is super important and something that I think a lot of us struggle with. I know myself, I'm constantly having to check in with myself about being grateful and recognizing what I have. And then after that, wealth shame. And wealth shame is something that I don't see talked about, which I think could definitely stand to be talked about more. And that's basically looking at folks who maybe struggle with being comfortable with having wealth or being successful, and maybe subconsciously sabotaging their own success. After that, we get into avoiding the victim mentality. So, another somewhat what I think is timely topic and sort of goes along with gratitude, and that is, and we all can feel sorry for ourselves. Like, we all have days where we just feel like we got the short end of the stick for whatever reason, but it's important that we don't get stuck in that, and that is what that's going to be about. And then lastly is fake it till you make it, and that is going to address how taking some of these principles and information and jumping off the deep end and doing it. And that can sometimes be the hardest thing, but I mean, how many times, and I know I've done this, you read the diet book or you read the self-help book or the financial book and you think, this sounds great, I'm going to do this. Or maybe you start on some kind of business venture or craft project or whatever, and you do all the research and you read all the materials, but you don't do it because you're scared and it's out of your comfort zone. So that is what that is going to be about. So, again, this isn't a get rich quick. I'm not looking to be anybody's guru. It's really just me putting forward what I have observed, what I think would be helpful to know based on what I've seen with the people that I've worked with and the people that I know. If you disagree with me, if there's something you want me to discuss, please comment, question me. There's no right or wrong here. There's a lot of different ways to look at this stuff. There's a lot of different ways to view it, and my perspective is going to be a lot different than other people's perspective, and this is just one way. I don't believe there is a right or a wrong way to examine this stuff. But I think what is important is that we are examining it, and we don't just give up and think it's something we don't have the ability to know or we can't learn. Because we all can. It's not complicated unless you want it to be complicated. So again, this is Finwell Prep. My name is Alicia. Thank you for joining me today. I will be trying to get the videos out at least weekly, and I may have some ad hoc stuff that I throw in from time to time if I come across something that I think... Oh, sorry, that's my dog. One moment. Sorry about that. I do record at home, so there may occasionally be interruptions. But yeah, as I was saying, there may be some topics from time to time that I may throw in ad hoc that are outside of the course if I think they may be interesting. And this will be really presented in a nonpartisan, non-political kind of way. I try not to be political. If something seems political, it's not my intent. These days I feel like everything's political, so... but really my goal with this is just to get some information out there that I think will be helpful to people. So thank you for listening, and feel free to comment or send me a message with any questions, or if there's anything that you want covered in addition or in more depth than what I do, please let me know, and I'm happy to put it out there. So thank you again for attending Finwell Prep. My name is Alicia. Thank you.